The crystal chandeliers in the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel shimmered like indifferent stars above the elite crowd, but Paisley Harrington felt like she was drowning. In that split second when her eyes locked with Harlow's across the sea of designer gowns and tailored suits, everything she had built, her engagement to Ryan, her family's legacy, her carefully curated life, crumbled. Without a second thought, she hiked up the hem of her ivory silk gown and bolted through the stunned guests, ignoring Ryan's confused shout and the gasps that rippled through the room like a shockwave. "Harlow," she cried, her voice breaking as she threw herself into the arms of the woman standing alone at the back, the one person who had always been her safe harbor in secret. Harlow caught her, holding tight as tears streamed down both their faces. "Paisley, what are you doing?" she whispered, but her grip said she never wanted to let go. The room erupted in chaos. Phones out, whispers turning to shouts, Ryan pushing through the crowd. But Paisley didn't care. For months they had played the role of best friends to hide what they truly were to each other. Two women deeply in love in a world that wouldn't understand. It started innocently enough at a networking event 2 years ago in downtown Manhattan. Paisley, the rising star at her family's PR firm, had been schmoozing investors when Harlow, camera slung around her neck as a freelance photographer, captured a candid shot of her laughing. Their eyes met across the room that night too, and something electric passed between them. Coffee turned into late-night talks, talks turned into stolen kisses in the back of cabs, and before either of them could name it, they were inseparable, yet invisible. "We can't risk it," Paisley had said over and over, her father's voice echoing in her head. "Harringtons don't make waves." So they became best friends in public, the perfect cover while their hearts burned in private. Now that cover was ash. Security tried to block the exit, but Harlow pulled Paisley through a side door into the cool October night. They ran down 59th Street, heels clacking, until they reached Harlow's battered Jeep parked blocks away. Inside the car, the silence was deafening. Paisley's phone buzzed non-stop. Ryan, her mother, her boss. She powered it off. "I couldn't do it anymore," she finally said, voice raw. "Watching you stand there like you didn't matter, when you're the only thing that does." Harlow gripped the wheel, knuckles white. "Your family is going to destroy us both." They drove to Harlow's small apartment in Brooklyn, the one place the press wouldn't think to look yet. As the door clicked shut, Paisley pulled Harlow close, their foreheads touching. For the first time in public view, they had chosen each other. But the world was already waking up to the scandal. By morning, every gossip site in America would have the footage. Sunlight sliced through the half-closed blinds of Harlow's Brooklyn apartment like accusations. Paisley woke to the sound of her own name blasting from the TV in the next room. She stumbled out, still in last night's ruined gown, and found Harlow frozen in front of the screen. Socialite Paisley Harrington ditches fiancé Ryan Caldwell at star-studded engagement party. Runs into arms of best friend, Harlow Bennett in shocking video. The headline scrolled beneath shaky phone footage of her sprint across the ballroom. Comments flooded the ticker. "Disgrace to the Harrington name. What about poor Ryan? Is this some kind of PR stunt?" Paisley's stomach dropped. Her phone, now on silent, showed 43 missed calls from her mother alone. Before she could process it, the doorbell rang. Harlow's neighbor, eyes wide, holding a newspaper. "Is this you?" The photo on the front page was crystal clear. Paisley mid-sprint, face lit with desperation and love. Within hours, the story hit national news. Ryan's family, Old Money from Connecticut, issued a statement calling it public humiliation and hinting at legal action. Paisley's father, CEO of Harrington Global PR, released his own terse quote. "We are deeply disappointed in handling this privately." Privately meant pressure. By noon, her mother was on speakerphone, voice trembling with fury. "Paisley, and you will fix this. Come home, apologize to Ryan, and we'll spin it as cold feet. Your trust fund and your position at the firm depend on it." Paisley looked at Harlow, who stood silently chopping vegetables for a meal neither of them could eat. The dilemma hit like a truck. Save her career and family fortune by returning to the lie, or stand beside the woman she loved and watch everything burn. Harlow spoke first, voice steady but eyes haunted. "I won't ask you to choose me over your life. I never have." But Paisley heard the fear underneath. Harlow taught photography at a prestigious private academy where parents already whispered about values. One viral story could cost her the job she'd fought for after years of freelance struggle. They spent the afternoon drafting a joint statement, something neutral about personal matters. But every draft felt like another cage. Then the first lawsuit notice arrived via email. Ryan's lawyers demanding compensation for emotional distress and reputational damage. The amount was staggering. Paisley paced the tiny kitchen. If I go public and say I'm in love with you, my father will cut me off. The firm will fire me. We'll both be unemployable in this city. Harlow set the knife down. And if you go back to him, we lose each other forever. Outside, a news van idled across the street. The siege had begun. That night they lay tangled on the couch, not speaking, just holding on as the weight of every future they might lose pressed down. Paisley whispered into Harlow's hair. I ran to you because staying silent was killing me slower than any scandal ever could. But silence was no longer an option. The world demanded answers. Word count, 1,012. The next 48 hours blurred into a nightmare of flashing cameras and ringing phones. Paisley's father arrived unannounced at Harlow's door with 2 security guards, demanding she return to the family estate in Connecticut. This isn't you, Paisley. It's a phase, a rebellion. Think of the company. Our clients are pulling contracts. When she refused, he left with a final warning. Her name would be removed from the will by week's end. Harlow watched from the hallway, face pale. The academy called her in for an emergency meeting. Parents had complained. The board suggested a leave of absence until the media storm passes. Harlow came home with a single box of her classroom photos and cried for the first time since the party. They didn't even let me say goodbye to my students. Paisley held her, guilt twisting like a knife. She had dragged the woman she loved into the fire. Meanwhile, Ryan's lawsuit escalated. His lawyers filed papers claiming breach of promise and seeking damages for the public embarrassment that cost his family a major merger. The amount now included lost business opportunities. Paisley's own firm froze her accounts and reassigned her clients. The pressure mounted daily. Tabloid helicopters circled the block, old college friends texted condolences mixed with judgment, and anonymous threats appeared in their DMs calling them homewreckers. In the middle of it all, they tried to carve out small moments of normalcy, cooking pasta together, watching old movies, but every laugh ended in silence when another alert pinged. One afternoon, Paisley received a text from her younger sister. Dad's having chest pains. The doctor says stress. Please just come home and fix this. The guilt was suffocating. That night, after Harlow fell asleep, Paisley sat on the fire escape staring at the city lights. She could still go back. A carefully worded apology, a quiet breakup with Harlow, and the lawsuit would vanish. Her career, her inheritance, her family, all saved. But the thought of waking up without Harlow's quiet strength beside her felt like dying. When Harlow woke and found her there, she didn't ask questions. She simply sat down and took Paisley's hand. Whatever you decide, I'll survive. I've survived worse. The words were generous, but Paisley heard the tremor. The next morning brought the worst blow yet. A car accident on the Brooklyn Bridge. A paparazzi van tailing them swerved too close. Harlow's Jeep was sideswiped. No one was seriously hurt, but the photos of the crash, Harlow shielding Paisley, went viral with headlines screaming lesbian love triangle ends in tragedy. The accident became proof to the world that their love was dangerous. Hospital paperwork listed them as close friends. The last lie they could manage. Driving home from the ER, Paisley finally broke. I can't keep protecting everyone else and losing you. Harlow, bruised but steady, replied. Then stop protecting them. The words hung between them like a dare. The crisis had forced their hands. The lawsuit hearing was in 3 weeks, her father's health was failing, and the media had camped outside permanently. Every decision now carried the weight of survival. The lawsuit hearing loomed like a guillotine. Paisley and Harlow spent days with a pro bono LGBTQ attorney named Maya, rehearsing testimony that could either free them or bury them deeper. Ryan's side painted Paisley as a manipulative liar who used him as cover. Their side argued emotional coercion and public shaming. The judge granted a temporary injunction freezing Paisley's remaining assets. Meanwhile, her father's condition worsened. Stress-induced heart episode, the hospital confirmed. Her mother's texts grew desperate. He asks for you every day. Don't let your choices kill him. The guilt ate at Paisley until she could barely eat. Harlow noticed and started leaving little notes around the apartment. Photos she'd taken of them in secret. Reminders that their love was real. One evening, after a particularly brutal tabloid piece called Harlow a predatory influence, Paisley found her packing a suitcase. "I'm only making it worse for you," Harlow said quietly. "If I disappear, maybe the story dies." Paisley grabbed the bag and threw it across the room. "Don't you dare. We've hidden for 2 years. I'm done hiding." They argued until dawn, voices raw, tears mixing with anger and fear. In the end, Harlow stayed, but the crack in their trust was visible. The turning point came during a surprise press ambush outside the courthouse. Microphones thrust forward, a reporter shouted, "Paisley, are you gay? Was Ryan just a beard?" Paisley froze. Harlow's hand found hers in front of the cameras, the first public acknowledgement. Paisley took a breath and answered, "I love Harlow Bennett. She's not my best friend. She's the love of my life." The words went viral in minutes. Backlash was immediate. Death threats, boycotts of the family business, her sister unfollowing her on every platform. But something shifted inside Paisley. For the first time, the weight felt lighter. That night they sat on the rooftop, city spread below them. "I just sacrificed everything," Paisley whispered. Harlow pulled her close. "No. You finally chose us." Yet the fight wasn't over. Ryan's lawyers doubled down, demanding a public retraction and therapy to cure her confusion. Her father refused to speak to her. Harlow's academy terminated her contract permanently. They were both unemployed, assets frozen, and living on savings that wouldn't last the month. Still, they made love with a new urgency, gentle, fierce, grateful, reminding each other why the cost was worth it. The next morning brought an unexpected offer. A major streaming network wanted exclusive rights to their story. Money, visibility, a platform. But accepting meant turning their pain into content. Paisley looked at Harlow across the kitchen table. "If we say yes, we control the narrative. If we say no, we stay broke and silent." The dilemma was perfect. Sell their souls for survival or keep their dignity and starve. Harlow's answer was simple. "We tell our version. No more hiding." They signed the papers that afternoon. The scandal had become their story, and they were finally the authors. Filming the documentary became both salvation and fresh hell. Cameras followed them everywhere. Grocery runs, tense calls with family, even the mediation session where Ryan finally faced them. He looked smaller than Paisley remembered, anger replaced by genuine hurt. "I thought we were building something real," he said quietly. Paisley's apology was sincere but firm. She had never meant to use him, only to survive in a world that demanded she be someone else. The producers pushed for drama, but Paisley and Harlow insisted on truth. No sensational edits, no villainizing Ryan. The process forced them to confront every crack. The nights Paisley still cried over her father's silence. The mornings Harlow woke from nightmares about losing her teaching career forever. One particularly brutal day, paparazzi cornered Harlow alone at the post office. She came home with a black eye and a torn shirt. Paisley wanted to quit everything and disappear. "This is too much. I'm dragging you through hell." Harlow, ice on her cheek, shook her head. "You didn't drag me. I chose to run with you that night." Their bond deepened through the fire. They started small traditions, Sunday pancakes, evening walks where they held hands openly for the first time. Slowly, support trickled in. Strangers on the street offering encouragement. A GoFundMe from LGBTQ teachers that covered 3 months' rent. Even Paisley's sister secretly wiring money with a note. "I'm scared for Dad but proud of you." The documentary wrapped just as the lawsuit reached settlement. Ryan accepted a modest sum and a public statement acknowledging mutual pain. No admission of wrongdoing, just closure. The night the papers were signed, Paisley and Harlow stood on the Brooklyn Bridge watching the lights. "We survived," Paisley said. Harlow smiled for the first time in weeks. "We did more than survive. We built something honest. But the final test arrived in a single phone call. Her father, voice weak from the hospital, asked to see her alone. Paisley went, heart pounding. He sat propped in bed, looking frail. I don't understand it, he said. But I can't lose you too. No apology, no full acceptance, but an olive branch. Partial reinstatement at the firm if she kept the relationship discreet. Paisley looked at the man who had shaped her entire life and realized the choice was still hers. She kissed his forehead. I love you, Dad. But I won't hide anymore. She walked out knowing the family business might never fully welcome her back. When she told Harlow later, they held each other and cried tears that felt like victory. The documentary premiered to mixed reviews but strong ratings. Offers poured in. Harlow was invited to teach a masterclass at a progressive art school. Paisley started her own boutique PR firm focused on LGBTQ clients. The storm hadn't passed, but they had learned to dance in the rain. 6 months later, the city felt different, brighter somehow. Paisley and Harlow stood on the rooftop of their new apartment in Queens, the documentary's Emmy nomination plaque resting on the table between half-empty wine glasses. The lawsuit money had been donated to an LGBTQ youth shelter. The family trust remained frozen, but they no longer needed it. Paisley's father still called on Sundays, awkward but consistent. Ryan had moved to California and sent a surprisingly kind text wishing them well. The media had moved on to newer scandals, though occasional paparazzi still lurked. Life wasn't perfect. Harlow still flinched at flashing cameras. Paisley still checked her bank account twice before big purchases, but it was theirs. One quiet evening, Harlow took Paisley's hands and said, "Remember the night you ran across that ballroom? I thought my heart would explode from fear and joy at the same time." Paisley smiled, pulling her close. "I ran because staying still meant losing you. I'd do it again in a heartbeat." They danced slowly to music only they could hear. The New York skyline glittering around them like a promise. The world had tried to break them, but every crisis, every headline, every tear had only welded them tighter. They had paid the price, reputation, fortune, family comfort, and discovered the reward was worth every cent. As the sun set, Paisley whispered against Harlow's lips, "No more pretending. Ever. True or false? In the end, is love always worth the destruction it leaves behind?"